All right, y'all. So let's do something. Let's be encouraged. And then let's go be encouraging to somebody else. I think there's a temptation for me to just kind of focus on the drama and focus on the negativity and focus on those aspects because it's YouTube, and naturally people are drawn to that and people click on that. And sometimes I become a slave to the game that is YouTube. And I don't like doing that. But at the same time, I'm so blessed to be able to be in this position to literally be living my dream and be used by God at the same time. So it's incredible. But I also want to make sure that I'm being encouraging so that each and every one of us can share that encouragement with somebody else. And hopefully through this testimony, we can kind of get closer to that, So Lauren Daigle, Christian singer, worship singer, I guess she had a rough year during 2020. And a lot of people had a rough time during 2020 because that was the season of stay inside, don't do nothing, can't go to church, can't work out, can't, go to work. And the devil was really speaking to people and was really trying to tempt people during that time of isolation, as he usually does when we're isolated, right? And so she's going to be sharing a sincere testimony. It says that gave me chills. That's the title of this video. This is what really happened to Lauren Daigle. And just through reading the comments, it seems like a lot of people are encouraged just, from reading the comments. So let's get right into it. And let's see what exactly happened with Lauren Daigle.
I remember during the 560 days of stillness, but no one was counting. God just met me in a moment, and he reminded me of what it was to find my first love again. And I feel like, yeah, it's the best. I'll just say that. But I was talking to someone yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago, I don't know. No, it was yesterday. Golly, the days feel so long. And we were talking about disappointment. And I was up here on this stage for 12 shows, I think it was 12 shows, before the shutdown happened. And as a child, God would show me these tours and visions and dreams, and I would literally see them. I could see crowds of people, and I could see tour buses, and I could see charts and awards and all these things. I wasn't even singing. I was like the closet singer that sang in her shower, sang when she was getting dressed. Nobody knew that I could sing. And my mom went to the worship leader at our church, the choir director, and said, "Hey, my daughter sings all the time." And I don't know if she's any good, but if you would just put her on the back row of the choir, maybe she'd have an outlet to get this out, and do something with it. And so I went and I auditioned. I didn't really audition. He showed me this song behind the church, and he said, "Sing this for me." And it was the song Hosanna. And I was like, Hosanna, Hosanna, like really sheepish. And he goes, "Lauren, I have heard you laugh before. You better sing that song." And I was like, oh gosh. And I said, "I don't know if this is singing or if this is screaming. I don't know." Because I was like belting it, but I didn't know what belting was. I just thought I was screaming at the top of my lungs with a melody attached. And I found out that's not what that was. And he said, "Get ready, because in 2 weeks I'm going to have you lead this song." And I had never really sang in front of people. I was so new to it. But in this time, God started showing me all these things. And here we are, fast forward. Every single decision that I had made in my career, I made focused on the dream, focused on those visions that he showed me over and over and over and over again.
Wow.
It says those without vision, they'll perish. And it was like he gave me the foresight for years and years and years and years to come.
Wow.
And here I am, and I have finally arrived to the moment that I was seeing all of these years. And it was the Lauren Daigle World Tour. It looked exactly like what he had shown me. Like exactly. But at the start of the tour, he said, hold it loosely. And I was like, all right, well, that's interesting. Didn't expect that. And he said, hold it loosely. And I remember just the first, don't tell anyone, but the second show, one of our major props broke. We're not gonna reveal any secrets yet. And I remember the team coming to me and they were like, you are not gonna believe what just happened. And I was like, it's all right. And there's just an ease about letting go of things that would be seemingly important. And then the 12th show came and everything had to shut down. And I remember feeling like, God, what is this disappointment? It took me 6 months to literally get out of bed. I was so heartbroken because at 16, he showed me something, a dream, a vision. And 12 years later, I was there to fulfill that. I could see it. It was exactly what he had shown me. And on the 12th, something interesting about the 12th, I gotta look that up. But on the 12th show was when it all fell apart. And the weight of disappointment is so suffocating. It is so isolating. It is so gripping. And I don't know if there is anybody that has walked in with disappointment tonight, but I promise you, he can be the restorer of broken dreams. I promise. Because the thing that's so interesting is I used to never talk about God at shows. I went through this phase where I didn't want to talk about God at shows because I wanted it to be more inclusive and I didn't want people to feel afraid. I wanted them to feel invited. But how could I introduce love when I'm not talking about love himself? And in this time of 560 days, I said, God, where did all this go? And he said, Lauren, you got to go back to why you sing. Why do you sing? You sing to love me. You sing to show me that you care. That worship is the thing that precedes a miracle. If you are desperate for a miracle and you begin to worship and worship and worship, your eyes will become so focused on the thing you're worshiping that you won't have time to give fear and anxiety and stress to the things of this world. And he said, you have forgotten. Yeah, it's amazing. He said, you have forgotten the heart of worship. Just come back to your first love. And I am so grateful for those 560 days because not only did he take away disappointment, but he allowed this stage to be an even more beautiful experience than it would have ever been because I actually remember worship now. Where I was going through the motions and just doing show after show after show. Now I get to sit and bask in his presence every single night. And I was missing it. And he just said, girl, come on back to your first love. Just come back. I don't know if you've walked in with disappointment. I don't know if you've walked in with sorrow. I don't know what it is that you've come in here with tonight. But I do know that he who has began a good work, he is faithful to complete it, and he will complete it. And even in disappointment, even in the weight of the world on your chest, God is gracious, he is kind, he is loving. And he will take you even in spite of your weaknesses, even in spite of you trying to run as far away from him as you possibly can. You might not even know who God is. You might be an atheist. You might not care about all this at all, and that is A-okay. I'm glad you're here tonight. I fully believe that by the end of it, you're gonna know a little bit of something about Jesus that you may have never known before. Come on in. Come on, sit at the table, because we got a lot of food to eat. There's a feast, and it's wonderful. But in this 560 days, I say, God, I'm not forsaking a moment of worship. So we're gonna do some old school songs, all right? We're gonna take it back just a little bit. Y'all want 2 old school songs or 1 old school song? You can, 2.
She said she was holding on to the vision that God had gave her. And then one day, she was living in that vision, and it looked exactly like the vision that God had given her. And then the next day, it seemingly fell apart. But through all of that, God brought her right back to that vision and reminded her why she even wanted that vision in the first place, which was to glorify Him, which was to be a valuable piece in His kingdom, doing His work according to His will. Don't get so caught up in the work of working towards your goals, of working towards your dreams, that you forget about the reason why you want to achieve them in the first place. It's not all about you. Sure, God can bless you, and He wants to bless you. He wants to bless all of us, but He wants those blessings to flow through you. And that doesn't always mean like money and things of that nature, but it could be, just like she was saying, that blessing of that first love that Jesus shows to us. Show that to somebody else. That blessing of your time, of being patient, of just sitting with somebody in their sorrows and just being with them. Man, I remember, I tell this story all the time. I tell this story all the time. But I remember I was working a job. I quit my job. I felt like God told me to quit my job. I started this business. I felt like I got the thumbs up from God. And He told me that the business was going to be successful. And it was successful. And that's why I quit my job. But as soon as I quit my job, it's like everything fell apart. And it was like, God, you gave me this vision. You told me it was okay. You gave me confirmation. But then when I took a leap of faith, it looked nothing like I thought it was going to be. It did for a moment. For a moment, it looked like what I thought it was going to be, but then it fell apart. And that led me to a lot of doubt. It almost led me to walking away from God. It almost led me to not even wanting anything to do with God. But then I was reminded that it wasn't about the blessings. It was about Him. It's always been about Him. It's always been about the love that He has given me, the forgiveness that He has given me. It was never about any blessing that He could bestow upon me. But I had lost sight of that, and He had to remind me, and He did. And there's even this vision. There's this vision. I remember I used to go to my car when I was living at my parents' house. I was like, I'm a grown man living in my parents' house, like, you know, eating their food, walking around in my underwear, all that type of stuff, right? And I used to go to my car just to kind of try to like get away. And I would sit in my car and I would pray. And I had this little notebook, this little black notebook, and I would write my prayers in it. And God would speak to me. And as He was speaking to me, I would write more prayers down. And it was like the more I was writing, the more He kept speaking to me. So I just kept doing this for maybe like an hour. And I remember one day it had to have been like 80 degrees in the car. And I had like an old Mercedes. It's like a 1998 Mercedes at the time. And if you know anything about those cars, something always goes wrong in those old Mercedes, and it's a fortune to fix. So my AC had been broken for maybe like the past year. It only operated on like level 1 AC. So it barely blew like the tiniest little like amount of air. And I'm sitting in 80-degree weather. I'm sweating. with the windows down. I'm sweating, but I'm just writing. I look like a maniac. I'm just writing. And I remember God gave me this clear vision. And it kind of seems like I'm approaching that vision that God gave me. This had to have been at least 7 years ago. It seems like I'm starting to approach that vision, and I don't want to share it yet. I don't want to share it yet, but I will. One day I'll share it with y'all. But even in me getting closer to that vision, once again, I'm reminded that the main thing is Him. The main thing is Him. And if he allows me to walk in that vision that He has placed inside of me, in my mind, in my soul, in my heart, if he allows me to walk in it, then that would be beautiful. But if He doesn't, then it's okay, because He's already given me so much. So what do I look like being ungrateful for something that I don't even deserve in the first place, when you've already given me so much? Your life, you already laid down your life for me. What do I look like being ungrateful? But yet I still sometimes fall into that ungratefulness. I think we all do. But I think this was a good reminder to just go back to our first love. Worship Him. Fix your eyes on Jesus, not of the things of this world. That was a beautiful testimony. Let me know what y'all think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.